It started with a mix-up. Not a life-or-death mistake, not a dramatic crime, just a simple, ordinary mix-up, the kind you wouldn't think twice about. But for Tom Bennett, a single father clinging by his fingertips to the last thread of hope, it would change everything. It was a rainy Tuesday morning in Boston. Tom's shoes, soaked through, squeaked against the polished floor of a tall glass building downtown. His hands trembled slightly as he clutched a dog-eared resume, the corners bent from constant handling. He was 5 minutes late. The babysitter had canceled, his son Lucas was running a fever, and the borrowed umbrella from his neighbor had given up halfway through his walk. He stepped into the lobby, checked the company name on his phone again, New Horizon Consulting, and hurried toward the elevator. But Tom pressed the wrong floor. A detail so small, so forgettable. But fate doesn't need grand gestures to reroute a life. Sometimes, it's as quiet as the wrong button in an elevator. On the 14th floor, the air was different. Warmer, calmer. A receptionist greeted him with a polite smile. "Mr. Bennett?" she asked. Tom, frazzled and half-drenched, nodded. "Right this way. Miss Carter will see you now." He followed her, heart pounding. He had rehearsed answers to interview questions for days. He needed this job, not wanted, needed. Rent was overdue, and the food pantry visit last week had been his third this month. He stepped into the office, and there she was. A woman in her early 50s, auburn hair pinned back, kind but sharp eyes behind tortoiseshell glasses. She extended a hand. "I've been waiting since 2010, she said softly, a strange, knowing smile on her lips. Tom blinked. "I'm sorry." She laughed gently, gesturing to the seat. "You look just like him." "Like who?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned forward, her expression softening. "Let's start." And so the interview began. But it was unlike any interview Tom had ever experienced. No talk of sales targets, spreadsheets, or quarterly goals. She asked about Lucas, about how old he was, what made him laugh, his favorite bedtime story. Tom was too desperate, too exhausted to be cautious. He answered, honestly, about Lucas's love for dinosaurs and his fear of thunderstorms. About how he'd promised Lucas he'd never miss another school play, even if it meant working nights. The woman listened, nodding quietly. And then she told him a story about her son, Noah. Noah, it turned out, had been the kind of kid who collected stray animals and gave them names. He wanted to be a vet. He was 10 when he was diagnosed with leukemia. Miss Carter, Margaret, she said, call me Margaret, had sat by his bedside through countless nights, reading to him the same dinosaur book over and over. In one of their last conversations, Noah had made her promise something. When I'm gone, Mom, he'd said, find someone who's trying to hold on. Help them. Don't let them drown. She never forgot that. But years went by, and life, with its demands and distractions, buried the promise under board meetings and balance sheets. Until Tom Bennett walked into her office. Wet, tired, clutching a creased resume, looking for a job. And for some reason, when she saw him, something inside whispered, this one. Mr. Bennett, she said, after a long pause. You're not here for the position you applied for. Tom's heart sank. I'm sorry, She raised a hand. But perhaps you're here for the one you need. She reached into her desk, pulling out a file. I've been looking for a community outreach coordinator for our new shelter initiative. It's work with single parents, struggling families. It's not glamorous. The pay isn't dazzling. But it changes lives. Tom stared, barely able to process it. I don't have experience in that. Margaret smiled. You've got more than you think. She slid the paper toward him. Let's get you home to your son. Tom left the building in disbelief. The rain had eased into a soft drizzle. The city didn't look so harsh now. When he reached his small apartment, Lucas was curled up on the couch, flushed but smiling at his dad's return. Tom knelt beside him, pressing a kiss to his damp forehead. I got a job, buddy, he whispered. Lucas mumbled sleepily, good, Daddy. Tom didn't tell him the details yet, but he knew it wasn't just a job. It was the lifeline they both needed. Over the next year, everything changed. Tom found not just employment, but purpose. He worked with families like his own, parents who felt invisible, overwhelmed, exhausted. He sat with them in shelters, at kitchen tables, on park benches. He told them it could get better, that someone saw them. And each time he said it, he remembered Margaret's words. I've been waiting since 2010, not for an employee, for a promise, for Noah. And through Tom, Noah's promise lived on. The story of a wrong floor, a single dad, a mother's grief, and a long-delayed promise spread quietly at first. Then it reached the local news. Then beyond. People in cities thousands of miles apart spoke of it, not because of grand heroics, but because it reminded them that sometimes the most ordinary moments hold the most extraordinary turns. That a simple mix-up can be fate's way of keeping its promises. Wherever you are in the world, whether you're fighting to stay afloat or in a position to offer a hand, remember, the small things matter. The overlooked lives, the missed connections, the promises we make to those we love. Because kindness, once planted, outlives us. And sometimes, it arrives disguised as a wrong floor in an elevator.